Chapter 2. Checkmate. I stood frozen in place, Adrian's words echoing in my head. You belong to me now. He'd said it so casually, as if claiming a person was as easy as signing a contract. The arrogance, the audacity. My blood boiled, but beneath the anger, a different kind of fear stirred. Because he wasn't just some arrogant playboy trying to rattle me. Adrian Blackwood had the power to make good on his threats. I needed to clear my head. My feet moved almost of their own accord, carrying me through the crowd of glittering elites, past their champagne toasts and hollow laughter, until I reached the terrace. The cool night air hit my skin like a splash of water, and I took a deep breath, gripping the stone railing as I tried to regain my composure. What just happened? 1 minute, I had been going through the motions, doing exactly what was expected of me at my family's endless parade of high society events. The next, I had been swept into a dangerous game with a man who played by his own twisted rules. The night sky stretched out above me, stars scattered like diamonds against the velvet darkness. I could hear the distant sound of waves crashing against the shore below, but even the peaceful rhythm of the ocean couldn't drown out the storm inside me. Yes. Familiar voice drawled from the shadows. Adrian Blackwood? I turned, my heart skipping a beat as Carter Hamilton stepped into the moonlight. He was every bit as handsome as Adrian, but in a different way. Where Adrian's darkness was palpable, Carter was all charm and light. The kind of man who could make you feel like you were the only person in the world when he looked at you. How did you know? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Because I saw the way he looked at you, Carter said, leaning against the railing beside me. And I know the way men like him think. Men like him. The words hung heavy in the air. Carter was one of them, part of this elite circle of power and wealth, a prince in his own right. But he had always been different, or so I thought. Where Adrian was ruthless and calculating, Carter seemed kinder, more human. Did he threaten you? Carter asked, his gaze sharp as he studied my face. I let out a bitter laugh. He didn't have to. He just kissed me and declared I'm his property now, like we're living in some medieval fiefdom. Carter's jaw tightened, his expression darkening. That sounds like Adrian. I glanced at him, my curiosity piqued. You know him well? We grew up together, Carter admitted, his voice tinged with something that almost sounded like regret. Our families ran in the same circles, went to the same schools, though we were never friends. Something in his tone made me pause. Carter hesitated, then sighed. Because Adrian's father is ruthless, and Adrian learned from the best. To him, everything's a game. People, emotions, love. It's all just a means to an end. I felt a chill run down my spine, not just from his words, but from the way they mirrored everything I had just seen in Adrian's eyes. He didn't want me. He wanted control, power. Though why me? I asked, more to myself than to Carter. What does he gain by claiming me like that? Carter's silence was heavy, and when he finally spoke, his voice was low, almost hesitant. Because you're the key to the most valuable piece on the board. Your family's company. I blinked, caught off guard. What? Carter turned to face me fully, his expression serious. Your father's company is a cornerstone in this city. Whoever controls it controls a lot more than just wealth. They control influence, power. Adrian doesn't need your money, Juliet. He needs the leverage your family name gives him, and the best way to get it. Marry the heiress. My stomach twisted, the pieces of the puzzle clicking into place with terrifying clarity. Adrian didn't want me because he loved me. He wanted me for what I represented, for what I could give him. And you? I asked, narrowing my eyes. What do you want, Carter? His expression softened, but there was something guarded in his eyes. I want to help you. Adrian isn't someone you can easily get rid of once he has set his sights on you. If you want out of this, you're going to need an ally. I studied him, weighing my options. On one hand, Carter seemed sincere. He had always been kind to me, always seemed to have my back in this ridiculous world of wealth and power. But on the other hand, he was still one of them, one of the men who played these games for a living. Could I really trust him? And what do you get out of this? I asked, my voice cautious. Carter smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. Let's just say keeping Adrian in check benefits us both. His answer was vague, but I didn't have time to question him further. The sound of footsteps echoed on the terrace, and I turned to see Adrian emerging from the ballroom, his eyes locked on me. My pulse quickened. I hadn't expected to see him again so soon. He approached with that same confident swagger, his gaze flicking briefly to Carter before settling on me. "You've been gone too long, Juliet," Adrian said, his tone casual but laced with authority. "We're expected inside." I felt my body stiffen at the sound of his voice, my mind racing to figure out my next move. I glanced at Carter, hoping for some sort of signal, but his expression remained neutral, his hands resting casually in his pockets, as if he hadn't a care in the world. Adrian stepped closer, his hand reaching for mine, but I pulled back before he could touch me. His eyes narrowed, but the smile never left his lips. "I don't belong to you, Adrian," I said, my voice steady despite the fear gnawing at me. For a moment, his expression faltered, the darkness in his eyes flickering with something unreadable. But then he chuckled softly, his smile widening as if I had just made the game more interesting. "We'll see," he murmured, his voice a velvet threat. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving me standing on the terrace with Carter. The tension in the air was thick, but I felt a strange sense of relief wash over me. For now, at least, I had bought myself some time, but time was running out, and I had just become the center of a deadly game.